what's going on? I'm back at it again on the road. So yeah, doing another video here. So on the road, you know, I'm looking, oh my nice, still looking good here. Yeah, but anyway, this one video I'm gonna talk about, like I'm gonna talk about this whole idea, this whole debate about nationalism. Like the whole idea, nationalism versus globalism, or globalism versus nationalism, however way you want to look at it. And part of it, in light event of the whole Brexit thing, you know, basically, as I'm sure most of you are aware by now, you know, Great Britain, aka the UK, has voted in a referendum in a vote to leave the European Union, the corrupt European Union, by the way, which is actually a big deal, because, you know, they've been a part of the EU for about like 43 years or something like that, and basically the EU is just like a global power, basically, of this group of nations that want to, like, you know, like, I guess, collectively get together and want to, like, run events. It's kind of like the UN. They want to looks at the EU is like, you know, basically doesn't really, basically what it does is, like, it's basically gets rid of, you know, Britain and other countries don't really have their sovereignty. They don't really have an identity as a nation. They're just, like, you know, part of this collectivist globalist scheme that basically, you know, they're, like, you know, part of this one world government and everything like that. Like, where basically they have their like Great Britain doesn't really have free will, and now basically they said we're just, you know, they're just you know, like, submit to the will of, like, a foreign oligarch, okay, kind of like our country, even though our country is not really our country is not really, like, you know, doesn't have anything like the EU. We're not really in anything like an EU theoretically. I mean, maybe some dispute that, but I mean, our country is run by foreign oligarchs, okay, and we owe debt to, like, China and all these other people, and now we're like, our currency's being devalued, and inflation. Same what happened in Britain, like, while they're under the EU, and people want to blame, oh, it's gonna have this big economic effect and everything like that. People are gonna lose jobs and currency is gonna be devalued. But if anything, okay, Britain's gonna have more money, okay, because it costs, like, last I heard, it cost them like $1 billion something just to be in the EU. It's like paying a membership, which is BS right there, okay, so the EU is taking everything from them, and they don't give anything in return. That's basically what globalism is: taking everything a nation has and not giving anything in return. That's globalism, okay? Basically taking what you have and just consolidating. Basically taking what you have and just not giving you anything else, okay? That's what it is, and that's what, like, all these foreign oligarchs, these banksters, like the Henry Kissinger, Hillary Clinton, like both Clintons, the Obamas, the Bushes, and anybody else who's in the globalist ring, okay? And people want to, and of course Donald Trump congratulated them, when he visited Scotland. Now Scotland's talking about, I guess, you know, like, leaving the UK. You know, why not? I mean, I think they voted to stay in the EU. If they want to do that, that's their choice. Whatever. If people want to, I mean, at least have a vote. If people want to, like, you know, if they want to leave the UK, so be it. Let them have it. Whatever. You know, I'm for people doing what they want to do, as long as it's on their own consent. Okay, people want to vote. Okay, there's a point of voting. There's a democratic process. Okay, if people, I mean, obviously people in Britain got sick of the EU, and people want to say, oh, that's a stupid decision. It's like, you know, get over yourself, okay? You know what? It was pretty close, and plus, you know, I'm actually myself, and I've followed it for a little bit. Like, I didn't really know too much about it at first, and I followed a little bit. Then this big no, all of a sudden the vote leave was the decision, like 52 to 48, which is actually pretty big. And there was also like allegedly, like, voter fraud and tampering and everything like that. So basically, like, you know, rigging election. Imagine that, right? You know, rigging a vote and everything like that, which apparently happens. People wonder why your vote doesn't count because of shit like that. Okay, even in this country, like, if, like, saying, people are, like, saying that couldn't happen. I mean, right? I know Hillary's, like, ahead right now. Like, so, like, they say, like, Hillary's ahead in polls right now. Like, Trump's, like, behind like 5 or 12 points, depending on what poll you look at. But you know, like, with this, like, it is possible. Like, I mean, Trump's a nationalist. And Hillary and good number of all the other candidates on both parties are basically globalist. Okay, that's one reason why people want to take him down. You know, people want to say, oh, he's a bigot, he's a xenophobe, he's racist, and all this other stuff. And that's what you know. That's what Brexit was about, is xenophobia, racism. It's like, you know, enough of that bullshit, okay? Just because someone disagrees with you does not make you a racist or a Nazi, or you get to call them a Nazi, use Goodwin's Law. It's like, you know what? Get over yourself, all right? Enough. People are sick of it. They don't, plus, you know, speaking of, like, you know, supposed racism, like, the reason why Britain voted to, like, you know, get out of the EU, because the EU kept, like, bringing all these telling the Britain that you have to take in all these migrants, these illegal like refugees of whom they have no idea who they are, and there've been problems like in Germany and other places where hordes of migrants, raping women. There's this little boy who was raped at the pool, and because these migrants, because these migrants come in here act like depraved animals and everything like that, because they live in a shithole and they don't know any better. And I'm not saying that all refugees are like that, or anyone who comes out of countries like that. But obviously, okay, we need to be smart about this, and I think we need to have a choice in the matter. Okay, people should have a choice and have the choice in preserving their own sovereignty, preserving their own country, having an identity, having a border. Okay, having like a nation, having an identity. That's basically and everything. Like we should have like an identity, like as a nation, as a citizen, as a person. Okay, now with this one world globalism, basically you have no identity. You're just like a slave. You're like a number on the barcodes. Theoretically, it's like and everything like that. And so it's almost like people like. It's funny, like all the younger generations, in the younger generations, commonly how the older generation sold them out. It's like, okay, like the generation before you and the generation before that, fought for your freedom, fought against the Nazis and everything in World War II, and they fought fought for your freedom. They died for you. Okay, so don't tell them about like selling out and everything like that. Enough of that crap. Okay, we probably wouldn't be here like if we the Americans in Britain didn't take down the Nazis and the Japanese and those Japanese kamikaze fuckers. But so don't give me any crap like that. Like the older generation sold us out, because look. And by the way, like the EU is almost like a Nazi regime, and I'm not saying it's exactly like the Nazis, and I'm not saying they put people in gas chambers or anything like that. I'm not saying the EU's like that, but it's like, but I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, was like a Nazi idea, not Nazi concept, like it can't and everything like that. This whole EU thing, and so it's like we say world like government type thing. So and like in New World Order type stuff. I know it's somewhat conspiratorial, but anyway, but here's the thing. I think we should put nationalism first, okay? Our own Americans, our own citizens first. That's what we as America have to do. Our civilians first, okay? And then we'll deal with. We need to get our house in order before we worry about the other problems of the world. And that's what Britain's doing. They need to get their house in order. It's like how is it like we should deal with the rest of the world, or have the rest of the world tell us what we need to do when we can't get our own house in order, okay? So I think So you know what? Nationalism is what we need, and people need to stop saying nationalism is a bad thing. You're a racist if you're a nationalist. I mean, nationalism can be a bad thing, but overall, it doesn't have to be. Okay, sure. Sure, you might have some exceptions of some racists, like these white nationalists or whatever BS like that. Those extremists. But look, okay, we're not talking about that. We're talking about being smart. We're talking about taking care of our civilians, having a country, not be overrun, not being told what to do by some dictatorial power that has no accountability. It's a bureaucracy that's unelected and unchecked. I mean, we have some of that here, not in the form of an EU or anything like that, but we do have certain agencies in our government, like the IRS, the BLM, and a whole other host of agencies that have zero accountability. They're exempt from the laws they create, and everything like that. And we as civilians have to be subject to their bullshit, and everything like that. So. But I'm gonna leave it there. But y'all let me know, chime in, let me know what you think, and I'll probably see y'all again soon, and hope you enjoyed the ride.